Welcome to episode 3 of the Southern Homesteading Podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Barbie.
And today we're talking about
Rabbits.
and cages and all things rabbits. So come with us. Now, the episode is titled Rabbit Cages DIY versus Pre-Built. But first we're going to discuss why we have rabbits in the first place. We don't have them because they're cute little bunnies and they're pets. There's nothing on this property that's just for everything has a purpose.
Everybody has a job.
Even me. I'm the laborer. What's your job?
I take care of the garden and the animals.
Yes, you do. One of the animals we have here on the farm is rabbits. You see rabbit. We have 5, and they are... Remember the breeds. What kind of breeds are they?
We have New Zealand,
That's right.
meat rabbits, and silver fox.
So yeah, we have New Zealand's and a silver fox, and we have them for a couple different reasons. One of the biggest reasons we have them is their manure. And a lot of people don't understand how valuable rabbit
Gotta have the
manure is.
poop.
Gotta have the poop. All the systems are interconnected on a farm or a homestead. And rabbit manure is one of the very best that you can actually have. And I like it because there's no composting needed at all. I don't have to go out there and turn the pile over once, twice a week and all that stuff, and then a month or 2 months, 3 months, have a good pile of dirt. You can literally put rabbit poop right on the plants.
And that's why I like it, because it's very good for the garden.
Now,
It's cheap, too.
We generally still put it in the compost pile most of the time. There are some times where we put it directly on the plants. If there's a particular plants that need to be need to be fed, sometimes we'll put it right on the plant.
But now we've actually moved them into a new location, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the chickens, they're in with the chickens. So now the chickens are composting the rabbit poop under the cages for us, and we don't even have to turn it.
Exactly. So you have the composting. Another thing you can get out of it too is what's called compost tea. Don't mistake it for the kind that, for Black Earl Grey.
No, you don't want to be drinking that.
No, you don't. So compost tea, you basically just take some water and you put rabbit manure in it, and then you put some kind of an air source to aerate it. Some people sometimes put molasses in it as well and let it go for a couple days, and now you got liquid, supercharged fertilizer to put on your plants, and with very little effort. So it's like I said, it saves you from having to go to your big box store and buying, the fertilizer from the store. That who knows what chemicals and additives they put in those things.
And it's expensive too.
Absolutely. So I don't want to say that rabbit manure is free, because we don't pay anything for it, but
it's a
pay,
good byproduct.
Yes, yeah, you do pay for the food that feeds the rabbits, and so you do, I guess, long way around, pay for the poop. But a lot of times, what we feed the rabbits, as well as regular non-GMO feed, is we also give them some things from the garden, right?
Yeah, we give them scraps from the garden, like lettuces or things that we wouldn't eat, but they're perfectly fine for them. I mean, they're not moldy or anything. They're still good, but they have really good nutrition.
That's one of the great benefits of having them. And the nice thing, too, is they're little pellets. So they're not a big, it's not like a cow patty.
No.
Right? They're little pellets, and they're easy to, clean up stuff. And as long as you keep them from not getting mixed up with the rabbit urine, they don't smell. I mean, they're absolutely odor-free, but if the urine gets mixed in with the poop, then you do start to develop an odor issue there. But so it's one of the easier manures to handle. I mean, when you look at, some of the others that that you want to try to harvest for your gardens. Another reason why we have rabbits is food. Like I said, our rabbits aren't pets, and they're not there for just the manure. That's one of the byproducts that we get out of that. But we have meat rabbits. Our rabbits, we have some breeding pairs. We have three females and 2 males. One of the males we're getting rid of, and probably one of the females too.
But we'll be replacing the female.
Yes, we will replace the female, but we won't be replacing that other male.
No.
And their sole job is to procreate. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's easy. Grab, you hear it, What's that story they say? Make like a rabbit, or they breed like a
Breed
rabbit.
like rabbits.
Breed like rabbits, or. So this is only we're coming into our second season of, of growing rabbits and babies and stuff. And the first season taught us one thing: it's not as easy as you think it is. That's one of the reasons why we picked rabbits, because it was like, hey, this is gonna be easy. Just put them out there and just let them do what they naturally do, and boom, hey, rabbits, baby rabbits. But we were finding, sometimes you have a good mother, sometimes you don't have a good mother, sometimes it's too cold, and there's some issues
Too
there.
hot.
Sometimes too hot. There's all kinds of factors that go into whether or not the babies make it or not. And ironically, it seems like, for especially southern homesteads, you've got to do the breeding in the fall and in the winter and the early spring, because you can't do it during the summer because it's too hot for it. So it's not as easy as it sounds, like I said. And we actually had, I think, 3 or 4 different kits, right?
We had, one kit came with one of the rabbits.
That's right.
She just had her kit, and we ended up 2 of those survived.
Right.
We were down to, I think, 3 when we got them, but one, we had a really, really cold night, and it didn't stay in the nest box and got out.
And then another one, the mother wasn't a really good mother.
No.
It was her first time, and she didn't really.
She wasn't feeding them, and she was giving birth to them outside the cage, and
we were still so new that we weren't sure, weren't really educated on what to look for and stuff. But now we know, how long you should wait, what you should do, and how to, you can actually, there's ways that you can do. Where you can take the mother and hold her on her back, and then take the babies and hold them up to the mother's teats, and
we tried that, and they did drink, but
we waited
it was
too long.
late.
We waited too long for that. But like I said, so we get our meat through the breeding program, and rabbit meat is really good for you, and it's
very lean.
It's very lean meat, and it's good in a lot of dishes. So it doesn't have it doesn't have a very strong flavor that overpowers some dishes and stuff. You can put rabbit in a lot of dishes. If you don't tell the people that it's rabbit, they wouldn't even know that it's rabbit.
We wouldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't do that. No, absolutely not. But what I'm saying is, that's what I'm saying. That's how mild taste that it has.
And if you cook it in a sous vide, it's really good.
Yes. And we cook a lot of things in the sous vide. We got the sous vide going right now with some chicken in it.
But that's a different episode.
That's a different episode, absolutely. The sous vide's going right now with some chicken from a previous season. And so if you hear that little bit of a buzz in the background, that's the motor on the sous vide cooking.
Dinner.
Yeah, it'll be it's cooking. I'm multitasking as I always do. Right? So when it comes to keeping rabbits, there's lots of different ways people keep rabbits. I've seen videos where people will do rabbit trackers, which are very similar to chicken trackers, where they just kind of move them around on the grass and stuff. There's issues with that. Some issues with that. I mean, there's positives and negatives to everything, right? So that's what you have to decide, which outweigh more for you. Now, here in the South, we have a lot of ants. We have a lot of bugs in the ground. Rabbits can burrow out.
They're prone to ear mites too, and you can get those from being on the grass.
So we opted for not the tractor method, but to actually have cages. And when it comes to cages, there's 2 different major groups, right? There's the DIY cage, where you go out to your Royal King or your Tractor Supply, and you buy the cages on the spool, and you bring it home, you lay it out, and you walk on it, and you build your own cage. And there's the ones that you can buy pre-manufactured or pre-built. There's advantage and disadvantage to each of them, right? So what it really boils down to is you have to ask yourself, do you have more time or do you have more money? Mm-hmm. Which do you have the most of? Which resource is in abundance? Right? Now, when we did ours, we didn't have as much time as we'd like, because we
both work full time.
We both work full time, and my wife has a honey-do list that it would be the envy of all people in the world, because it's always growing.
I help you with it, though, baby.
Yeah, oh, absolutely you do. Yes, absolutely you do. So we opted to go with the pre-manufactured. But let's go back to the DIY. So like I said, some of the advantages of a DIY rabbit cage, and there's lots of videos on YouTube if you want to watch how to build those. One of the advantages is you do save some money, not as much as you would think, but by the time you buy the wire, by the time you buy the tool and the J clips and all this stuff, you don't save as much money as you have. So now it boils down to, is the aggravation of dealing with this wire and having it scratch the the dickens out of you, and trying to straighten it, put it together, and then have walls that kind of make you seasick, or is your consideration money higher than that? So it can save you money, but there are some things that go along with that, and you also get the satisfaction that you built it. Right? So some people will pay extra for something just because so they can build it, so they can say I built that, and I fall in that category a little bit. I'm not 100% in that camp. I don't have both feet in that puddle of water per se. I do like to build stuff. I do like to say that I built that. When you make your own cages, you can also customize them for your operation. So I mentioned we bought ours. We got the 2 girls and a boy, or was it 3 girls and a boy? When we bought the rabbits.
2 girls and a boy.
Yeah, so when we originally bought them from the person we bought our pigs from, we got 2 females and a male, and the cages that came along with it. Actually, the cages we bought from them were 5, so we had room to grow into. But their cages were kind of old, so we knew that we were going to have to replace them.
They had holes in them that we had to mend, and toward the end here, they were actually rusting a little bit,
and they were kind of raggedy. But we knew that they would suffice at least one season. So we can kind of figure out what we wanted to do. When you build your own, you can make them fit for whatever you want. So for example, you can have hanging cages and a hutch. You can have 3 cages, 5 cages, however big you want. Or you could do the method that we did, where we had them on shelves in the cow milking room, which I don't recommend doing that way. I don't recommend putting rabbits over top of each other. We learned that the hard way because they pee and poop all over each other, and that just creates it's not
the way we want our rabbits to live.
Exactly.
We want them to have a happy life.
A happy life, and being pee and pooped on is not a happy life for rabbits typically. And so we need to make sure that they want to have that happy life. So we don't recommend that method either. But you do have the ability, if you're building your own cage, to make them, again, whatever style you want and whatever size you want. Right? When you're buying pre-manufactured stuff, you're limited to certain sizes. Now, you might find a size that might fit you, but if you're looking for a specific size to fit a specific outbuilding that you have, then you might not have it. But if you're building your own, you can make it to fit that. That's one of the advantages to doing it. One of the disadvantages is dealing with that spooled welded wire. If you've ever dealt with chicken wire, if you ever dealt with fencing, you know that any kind of wire that's in a bundle, it's in a roll,
is horrible.
I got scratches on my arms today.
I do too.
From wire. You gotta unspool it. You gotta figure out a way to flatten it. Some people walk on it. Other people have other methods.
And even then, it doesn't want to lay flat.
It never does. It never wants to lay completely flat. And then when you build the cage,
it's all wobbly looking.
Yeah, you get seasick from looking down the sides of it. Because, we opted not to use the DIY version on this particular build. Maybe years down
just on the cages.
Just on the cages. Maybe years down the road when we add to them or build or replace those. Maybe you might do a DIY, but on this particular go around, we went with the pre-built. Now, pre-built.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Pre-built, it comes in 2 varieties.
Yeah.
Right. The one variety is we can buy them already completely built. All you got to do is just order them. They show up at your desk or at your desk. They show up at your home, or you go to Rural King or whatever. You buy them, you bring them, and you can immediately just throw the rabbits in and boom, off and running. Right. That's probably the least stress-free,
turnkey cages.
Most turnkey. Yeah, exactly. And the advantage here is you can immediately put the rabbits in the cage. It's not like you're having to deal with a time delay from trying to get stuff built and stuff like that. And if you're a person unlike me who doesn't like to build things, or you get stressed out because you don't like to build stuff, that's your option. I mean, you just grab it and it's ready to go. But you're also going to be limited on the sizes too. Again, so you can have certain sizes, and hopefully they fit.
Well, and you're going to pay more for them too, just in shipping.
Oh yeah, if you have it shipped to you, absolutely you'll pay more, and you're going to pay more generally because you're paying for the material and the labor to put that together, plus the shipping to your house or the shipping to, Rural King or Tractor Supply, wherever you're buying it from. Then you got to bring them home. Hope you have a truck. That's all I got to say. Hope you have a big truck, and hope nobody hits it with a tractor. I'm just saying. Story for another day. Moving on. So the disadvantage again is it's very costly. and you may have to go to a store to buy that. They'll take a day out of your stuff, and your customization is limited.
But then there's the option we chose.
And I think for us, it was the best.
Yeah.
So they were what I call partially assembled.
Mm-hmm.
So we flipped through. We bought them from a company called Klubertans, and one of our friends recommended that. Thank you, Ford. I know you're listening. And so they get online. You can actually order. Now they're old school.
Yes, you have to call them
You
to
have to
order.
call them to order. You can't order online, and then you get this person who answers.
They
the
do
phone.
have a website so you can look up what
Yes.
you're ordering. But.
So they have this person who answers the phone, and the person's a very nice person, but you could tell that they're borderline Luddite. They don't like technology. You can just tell that just from talking with them. But very knowledgeable and very and help you with whatever you need to choose. Yeah. But we did get a catalog when it came in though, and
Yes.
the catalog has lots of stuff in it. And so yeah, you can order it, and then we ordered it from Klubertans, and so they showed up.
We'll
at
be
our
ordering
house.
from them again.
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll build the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
They showed up. They shipped at UPS, 4 cages. Shipped them UPS in 2 boxes, but the boxes were taped together into one box. And I want to say that the box probably weighed maybe 50 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 60 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So they came. The floor was already cut. The walls were already cut. The ceiling was already cut. The
baby
door,
savers were welded into the actual signs.
exactly. So and the door was already on and attached, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because if you build rabbit cages, if you go out to if you choose to do the DIY version, you have to go buy 3 different types of wire. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to buy the wire for the floor,
Mm-hmm.
which has small openings so they don't hurt their hocks. Then you got to buy the wire for the walls. And if you're going to be breeding, like you mentioned, it has to have
The baby savers.
the baby
on.
saver on them, or you got to buy another separate wire to go around this, so
Yeah.
the babies don't fall out and die. And then you got the wire for the roof. So that's 4 different types of wire that you're buying. And most of the time when you buy that wire, the spools are already predetermined lengths, and they're always more than what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why I say it's not exactly cost savings. You do pay less, but you have to buy more material than you actually
Mm-hmm.
need to do all that stuff. So it came in a box. They were already pre-cut, and the best thing I liked about them was they were absolutely flat.
Flat, yes.
Absolutely flat. If you want to watch the video on the YouTube. It's because I actually go through unboxing stuff. They
Yeah.
hadn't had to deal with any of that stuff, right? And so
Where can they find that video, baby?
it's on the Bowser Journal YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah, so make sure that you go look that up. It's as of today, it's the latest.
Yep. One of our dogs is repositioning. Sorry.
Yes. Mama bear lay down, honey. Or go out in the living room. Do whatever you want.
She can do whatever she wants.
Absolutely, she can do whatever she wants.
And we say that because she's having problems with seizures right now. So.
Yes, she's 11 years old, and I think we mentioned it in the last podcast. The seizures are increasing, and so
She just started new medication
the
today.
second round of new medication.
Yes.
I think she was just starting the other medication when we
Yeah.
did the last podcast.
Yep.
So she's on a different medication now, and again, we're on borrowed time with her.
Keep her in your prayers.
Yes, absolutely.
You were saying there was no memory in the wire and they were completely flat.
Yes, they're completely flat, and we ordered the tool and the J clips. And the lady, I was just going to go to Tractor Supply and buy a J clip tool, and she talked me out of it. She said, no, you need to buy ours. And I said, well, how much is yours? And I can't remember. I think it was $15 or
It wasn't
$12.
much more than.
And you buy the one at
That
Tractor
was-
Supply, it's like $9, $10, $11, something like that. And when I got out of the box, there's a definite quality difference between those two. It's heavier, and it's one solid piece of metal instead of the 2 narrow pieces. And we also ordered the J clips, and so they do give you instructions, but the instructions are borderline IKEA, right? You know what I mean by that? So if you ever put anything together from IKEA, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're not very detailed, but they were detailed enough
Yes.
that if you're in any way mechanically inclined,
You can figure
you
it
can
out.
figure it out. Just make sure you pay attention to where the sign is on the front of the cage with the doors, so the baby savers are facing the bottom, and make sure you grab the flooring for the bottom because it is a different opening
And the
size.
flooring needs to be a certain way. So with the raised ones, a certain.
Oh yeah, the wires have to be a certain way. Yeah, exactly. But if you follow the instructions, you will work your way through it.
And it really only took about 30 minutes.
Well, the first one took me more than 30 minutes because we were.
Well, you were learning.
I was learning it. I had the grandboys.
You were filming.
We were filming, and it was a hurricane. The triple threat, right? So what'd you do during a hurricane? I built rabbit cages. No, I say hurricane. The hurricane actually skirted us.
Yes.
It went up.
We
the
got
eastern
some wind
seaboard.
and a little
Yeah.
rain.
We got a tiny bit of rain.
Yeah.
And I would consider them breezes. I would really.
We've
consider
had
them
worse
wind.
storms.
Exactly worse afternoon thunder showers than that. But we did get so the first one took me a little while, and then we broke for lunch, and then while the grandboys and stuff were still in eating, then I went out and built the second one. I actually timed myself, and I did it in 26 minutes. And again, that was only like my second one, or maybe even third one at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know if I was to be building them, all day long or over a couple of days, you can easily get it down to probably 15, 20 minutes each to put them together. Because it's just J clips.
Yeah.
Just clip, 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 clip. Just don't drop the J hooks.
So once we got them all assembled, we'd actually been spending the last couple of weekends building our own. I guess it's a hutch that you hang in.
It's a hutch. So
It's a covered hutch.
So the original storage was they had a hanging cage that we put in, like we said,
in the barn.
And then we saw.
But we live in the South.
But we live in the South, absolutely. And here's the problem: the airflow is not as good.
No.
So when you live in the South, a lot of people think, yeah, it's great, you can have no problems, but the heat, we get a lot of heat,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of humidity, and those definitely affect the rabbits. And so they were in the barn, protected from the rain, but they weren't getting a lot of air ventilation. You could just literally see them, poor things, just breathing so hard. So we wanted to get them out of there, and so we built a hutch out in the chicken coop area.
It's completely shaded under big, huge oak trees.
It's in the part of the property where it's all covered with trees, so they have dappled light all day long. They're at no point during the day are they in direct light, and the hutch is covered on 3 sides.
And there's usually a nice breeze going over there.
Yeah. So the two ends are covered with plywood, and the back is covered with
shade cloth and lattice.
Lattice.
That way the wind will still come through.
And they can still see through the shade cloth, so that way it kind of still stimulates them. So the front is open, so there's a lot of air circulation with that, and that kind of helps us with here in the South because like I said, I had rabbits before. Back up, I had a rabbit before. One Christmas, many moons ago, pre-Barbie.
A pet rabbit.
It was Christmas. We were driving from our house when I was married to my ex. We were driving from my house to her mom's house. We had just opened up all the Christmas presents at our house. We were going to her mom's house to open up the presents. We were driving down our street, and we saw a rabbit, and it literally hopped across the road. And so I immediately stopped the van, and I got out, and because the kids were like, Dad, catch the rabbit. And we're talking, all my kids were maybe
That's not a good idea.
Like 3 to 5 years old. I wasn't this sharpest tool in the shed then either. Right? I was just a young guy. I was a young dad. I wanted to impress my kids. So I stopped the van. I got out, and the rabbit was underneath the car, and I grabbed the rabbit, picked it up, put it in the van. It was very docile. I have a feeling that somebody had gotten a rabbit for Christmas,
and it escaped.
And it escaped. So in essence, they bought my kids a rabbit that season. So anyway, to get back to my story was, at the time we lived in Maryland. Maryland, their summers are a lot less severe than Florida's summers. And that rabbit died because of being in the sunlight and the heat. So rabbits can die from that. So,
and you definitely don't want to breed them in the summer because that just puts extra stress on them and the babies with the heat. So
the thing, like I said, the steps that Barbie said that we took is, we put them in that area where it's dappled light. So they're never in direct light. They do get a lot of wind. Not a little wind, but a lot of air circulation. And they're not best. Thing is, they're not peeing and pooping on each other.
No, and they have bigger cages than they did before.
Yes.
They seem really happy. They come up every morning when we go out to feed them, and they want their fresh greens that I give them.
Yeah, they have the Taj Mahal. Their cages are 36 inches deep, 18 inches tall. Yes.
36 inches wide, 30 inches deep.
36 inches deep, 30 inches wide. Yes, and 18 inches tall. Yes.
I thought it was opposite.
No. It's 36 inches deep, 30 inches wide, 18 inches tall. which is way bigger than most cages for most breeding rabbits. Again, going back to our philosophy. Yes, they're rabbits. Yes, they're here for a reason. But that doesn't mean we don't want them to have
A good life.
poor life. We want them to have a good life. We want them to be happy. We interact with them. We give them treats and stuff.
And the chickens are interacting with them now.
Oh, the chickens absolutely love them. I mean, the chickens go out there and so one of them is in what we call our
grow out
cage. We actually built it originally for chickens, but we're using it for rabbits too. And
temporarily.
so we brought it out and set it on the ground next to where we're finishing the stuff, and all the chickens literally surrounded it. I was looking at the rabbit inside of them and stuff. And so now the rabbits can watch the chickens can watch the rabbits. They all kind of get that social interaction and that mental stimulation, and they're happy all the way around. And
they get to see the, squirrels playing in the trees or whatever. I mean, there's a lot more for them to enjoy.
And they definitely seem
besides
happy.
Just the toys in their cages.
They definitely seem happier in their new areas. And the only thing we have left to do the hutch is we got to paint the sides to match the barn
and put some lattice on it.
Were we doing lattice?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another new project.
No, that was already.
No, we talked about lattices. We talked about fencing, and
but we decided painting it to match the garage, and then putting the white lattice on top of it.
Okay, and then run the automatic waterer up to the goat water. Right now, it's attached to a 5-gallon pail, so we don't have to water them
every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Once we attach it to the goat water, that's actually. Well, right now it's 2 55-gallon drums. A future project is to change that to 3 55-gallon drums. So it'd be a lot less. I mean, it's one of the things you always want to do is when you add these new systems is you got to get past that learning curve. Then you start trying to figure out ways to make your job easier. So, and that's kind of what we're doing with that. So the automatic water makes your job so much easier because, especially in summertime, especially in the South, rabbits need lots and lots of water. So our question for the day is, do you have rabbits? Which cage system have you used? Or better yet, if you have a picture of one, send that to us. So we can kind of see what you're doing. Because this is all about community.
Can they post pictures on our YouTube thing?
No, they can't post them to YouTube, but we're also on Facebook too.
Oh, that's
Facebook
true.
and Instagram. So just tag us in that, the Bowser Journal, or hashtag the Bowser
We'd love
Journal.
to see your setup.
Yeah, we'd love to see your setup because we're by no way, shape, or form is our way the only way for the South. It's just the way that we chose for our specific conditions, and we think it'll help a lot of other people in our area.
So until next time,
live your own story.
So y'all come back now, you hear?